Spring 1943, Bougainville. Japanese pilots, experts in outturning any rival in the Pacific, confidently dismissed a new American fighter as just another sluggish Hellcat. But soon, wreckage scattered across jungle airstrips and bulletproof glass that refused to shatter forced a terrifying re-evaluation. Its name was whispered in briefings Corsair. To the Japanese, it would soon earn another name, Whistling Death, a machine so powerful and so heavily armed that it overturned not just dogfights, but the very doctrine of Japan's air war. The arrival of the bent-wing bird radio chatter over Bougainville in 1943 crackled with uncertainty. Flight leaders, trained to spot every American silhouette, logged sightings of a new blue fighter but dismissed it as another Grumman Hellcat. Squadron reports from Rabaul echoed the same mistake. Pilots in the air, however, sensed something was different. The first clue came not from manuals, but from battle itself. A flash of bent wings, shaped like a swallow, but far from graceful. One Japanese diary recorded, "Blue bent wings. At first, we thought them new Hellcats, but their speed and climbing were unnatural. Soon, confusion gave way to fear. Japanese pilots, used to outturning Wildcats and Airacobras, found themselves attacked from above, ripped apart by blistering bursts of .50 caliber fire, then left behind in the Corsair's vertical climb. Damaged aircraft limped home, riddled with holes, armor glass refusing to shatter, and self-sealing tanks snuffing flames that would have doomed a Zero. The design they laughed at, the inverted gull wing, mocked at first as awkward and ungainly, became the Corsair's unmistakable signature. Its shape wasn't an accident. A massive 13-foot Hamilton Standard propeller, driven by the Pratt & Whitney R2800 Double Wasp, demanded ground clearance that ordinary landing gear couldn't provide. So Vought's engineers bent the wings downward, then sharply up, allowing the fighter to stand tall without sacrificing aerodynamics. On paper, it looked like a compromise. In combat, it was a revelation. The R2800 delivered over 2,000 horsepower raw-strength Japanese engineers admitted they could not match. Reports from captured memos described the engine as impossible to counter with current types, and the Corsair wasn't just fast, it was tough. Armor glass, nearly 2 inches thick, armored seats, and self-sealing fuel tanks kept it flying after hits that would have turned a Zero into a fireball. From land to sea. At first, the Corsair was written off as too dangerous for carriers. Its brutal landing characteristics earned it a reputation as a land-based brute. But the U.S. Navy refused to give up. With refined tailhooks and new landing techniques, carrier accident rates dropped, and by 1944, Corsairs were launching directly from decks. Japanese staff officers were stunned. A post-war memo admitted bitterly, "We believed the Blue Fighter could not land on ships. Now they come from the sea. There is no escape." Carrier-borne Corsair squadrons extended American reach across the Pacific, striking targets once thought untouchable. Whistling Death Corsair pilots fought with a new playbook. Instead of circling in slow-turn battles, Marines climbed high, then dove steeply, using gravity and horsepower to strike at speeds the Zero and the Oscar couldn't match. The Corsair's top speed of 446 miles per hour left Japanese fighters gasping. Their airframe shook apart above 250 miles per hour, roll control fading just as danger peaked. Japanese pilots who tried to follow Corsairs into a dive risked structural failure. Those who stayed above were cut down in the next slashing pass. Post-war notes from the Corsair arsenal marveled at the Corsair's ability to retain control at high speed, calling its energy tactics impossible to counter with current types. But perhaps the greatest weapon wasn't firepower, it was fear. The Corsair's bent wings created a sharp, rising whistle in dives, a sound Japanese soldiers described as the sound of fate. On the ground, infantry froze when they heard it. Marines called it their guardian angel, raining rockets and .50 caliber fire on enemy positions. The collapse of morale. By late 1944, Japanese intelligence briefings carried a sobering message: do not engage unless advantageous. avoid slashing attacks, report sightings immediately. The bravado of earlier years had disappeared. For many pilots, this was the first unofficial surrender in the skies, an admission that some fights were no longer worth the risk. Corsair units tore through kamikaze formations over Okinawa, scattering desperate attackers before they could reach American fleets. Survivors recalled the panic of watching their formations collapse in seconds, discipline evaporating under the thunder of whistling death, legacy of the bent-wing fighter. By war's end, the numbers told the story. Corsair pilots destroyed over 2,140 Japanese aircraft while losing just 189 inches combat, a kill ratio greater than 11-to-1. No other Allied fighter in the Pacific matched it. Even late-war Japanese designs, like the Ki-84 and Shidenkai, inspired by the Corsair's speed and firepower, came too late to change the tide. The F-4U Corsair forced Japan to rethink its doctrine, broke the back of its veteran air corps, and left a blueprint for the future of aerial warfare. To America's pilots, it was a guardian angel. To Japan's, it was whistling death.